All right, Glennis, you saved the chocolate cake for your last thing to try. So I want you to take a bite right now and then just give me your spontaneous reaction.
All right. Oh, goodness. Okay, talk about performance anxiety.
I know, right? I need video to see her face.
That is so good.
She might cry.
It is so good. Oh, my goodness. That is so good. It's not supposed to be that good.
Somebody just said they think you're having a religious experience over there.
Or something like it, yeah.
Some kind of experience.
Yeah,
This is a G-rated podcast.
That is really, really good.
Welcome to the Eat Your Greens with Dr. Black podcast. I'm so glad you're here. In case you're new to the show, I'm Dr. Black. I'm a board-certified pediatrician with a nutrition and lifestyle medicine focus. I started this podcast because I felt like there was this real need for down-to-earth discussions about the importance of a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, but I just didn't have the time for that in the typical office visit. I really want my patients, their families, and anyone else who takes time out of their day to listen to come away with some actual tools that they can use, not only to change their diet, but also to improve their health. Now, I have a little bit of a spoiler alert for you. This episode will not accomplish any of those goals. None whatsoever. This episode is not about health food. There will be no greens actually eaten on the show today. It happens to be the holidays, and if you're looking for some amazing dessert recipes, look no further. I've got you. I scoured the internet for the best vegan desserts, and I roped a bunch of my friends into coming over and helping me to test them out. Now, let's be honest, I didn't exactly have to twist their arms or anything. That's right, this episode is all about scrumptious, yummy, high-fat, high-sugar dessert. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you eat any of this on a daily basis, okay? We're talking about moderation here, but sometimes you just need something sweet. You need something oozing with fat and sugar. Maybe you have a party to go to or some get-together. Maybe it's your birthday or an anniversary. You can find healthier vegan dessert recipes out there using things like date paste and minimizing processed sugar and fat. Yeah, I didn't use any of those recipes for this episode. Maybe in the future I'll do another episode focusing on those healthier vegan desserts. But for this episode today, nothing that I'm going to talk about is what I would call health food. So consider yourself warned. My sister, Chef Wendy, and I spent all day making a mess in my kitchen. She's a Culinary Academy trained chef and worked for many years as a pastry chef. You may remember her if you listened to that episode where we tried out all of those meat alternatives like Beyond and Impossible. We had a lot of fun, and so we decided that we wanted to do it again, but with desserts. I do have to put in a little disclaimer here. I am not a food blogger. I have absolutely no interest in developing recipes, especially desserts, because personally, I prefer to cook, not really much of a baker. Everything that Wendy and I made came from a few of my favorite food bloggers, plus a couple of those cute little Instagram reels that I came across. So I'm going to include links to all of these recipes in the show notes in case you want to try some of them yourself.
I'll try vegan foods that I encounter, and desserts had always been something that really underwhelmed me. I think especially because, eggs are such an important binder for a lot of different confections. It's like, yeah, if you switch that out, like this whole thing is like falling apart in my hand, and that's not cool. But everything here today has been like good at the worst and like great at the best. Like I really liked everything that was here today. So I was pleasantly surprised by everything today.
I decided to have some fun with this episode and make a competition out of it. That's right, it's the Great Vegan Dessert Showdown right here on the Eat Your Greens with Dr. Black podcast. My friends are the judges, and we'll do a countdown from loser to winner. First, let me introduce the contestants in this bake-off. In no particular order, we have contestant number 1, a zesty little lemon bar from Feel Good Foodie. Contestant 2 is a chocolatey brownie made with sweet potatoes that I found over on Instagram. Third, we have a vegan cheesecake from Minimalist Baker. Number 4 is a Decadent peanut butter pie from Connoissaurus Veg. Contestant number 5 is another Instagram darling, an oatmeal raspberry cup topped with dark chocolate. The 6th contestant is some good old-fashioned chocolate chip cookies from Nora Cooks, and contestant number 7 is a rich chocolate cake with chocolate icing, also from Nora Cooks. What do you think? Can vegan desserts be just as delicious, just as rich and creamy? Which one do you think will take the W? You're about to find out. All right, we're recording some commentary from our guests on the quality of the desserts. We've done our taste testing and we've had a lot of fun. And just so everybody knows, we are scoring our desserts. So each dessert has 4 categories and people can assign up to 5 points per category. And then they have 3 bonus points to add however they want. And at the end, we're going to tally up all the scores and see which one is the winner. So, Chef Wendy, thanks for joining me. What did you think overall about how just the experience of making all of the desserts? How do you think they went?
Oh, well, I think we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And I have never done recipes like this. I mean, the mousse I've made before, but other stuff I haven't. So it was really interesting to do the textures and see how it was coming out differently and stuff like that. So it was a really fun experience. Yeah.
Let me just ask from the technical point of view, which one did you find the least enjoyable to make? Was there something that you just did not enjoy about the difference between working with conventional non-vegan products versus the products that we worked with?
The one I was most looking forward to trying was the cheesecake, but that's because cheesecake is one of my go-to desserts that I make, probably a dozen times a year. I normally do a graham cracker crust on my cheesecakes. This one was dates and walnuts. It came out a lot better than I expected it to.
The thing that I found the most different in the baking was the flax egg that we used for the chocolate chip cookies, because I've never used that before. I've used aquafaba. Remember, we made those oatmeal cookies on the fake meat.
And those were really good.
And the aquafaba works well as an egg substitute, but the flax egg was interesting, and I think it worked really well, too. Starting with the contestant with the fewest points, the loser. It's the sweet potato brownies, the dessert that tried to sneak some health food into the party. You know that guest that always shows up with low-sugar cupcakes made with bran and zucchini? Oh, wait, yeah, that's probably me. I'm that guest. Okay, well, let's hear what the judges had to say about these sweet potato brownies. Hi, Paula. Thanks for coming and joining in.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. What did you think?
I loved it. I liked it better than I expected to. My daughter has made me vegan things in the past that I've not really appreciated. So it all tasted way better than I expected.
Yay.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? What did you think about the brownies?
I like the brownies. Sometimes I am in the mood for a little bit of chocolate. I couldn't have eaten a whole piece of it because it's so rich. But sometimes if you just want a little bit of chocolate and that satisfies your craving for something sweet, and that way, if you can eat a smaller amount, that's better for you probably in the long run. So I think a little bit of the brownie goes a long way.
Felix, hi. It's very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate your
Thank you for having
joining us. So give me your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on the brownies in particular?
The brownies might have been my least favorite thing. Just the texture was just not typically what I would expect from a brownie. I like mine to have a little more fight in them, be a little chewier. This was a very passive brownie, but the flavor was still good. It was still chocolatey. I mean, visually, it was still brown. That's all you can really ask of a brownie.
Good point.
But it was just the consistency. It was just kind of soft. And it was like, come on, man, act like you're here.
A little chewier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. And again, I'm going to have to consider that because with that sweet potato being the binder, I think that's why it
Probably.
needs something with a little more give. All right, Colleen, I'm so happy you're here. I think you were the most enthusiastic about coming to try all of the desserts.
I was so enthusiastic. I was counting the days. And now, of course, my heart is pounding from all the sugar that I
And have to have a detox.
It did not disappoint. And the brownie, I think it was more the texture. It was just a bit soft and I guess overly moist, maybe. I do like a brownie with a little bit of the crispy edges and chewiness. And I think that was lacking a little bit, but it certainly had a really rich, wonderful chocolate flavor. Wasn't overly sweet, just a bit on the doughy side.
What was it about the brownies that you did not like?
I didn't like the consistency. When I make brownies, I bake them like, the best way for me to describe it is I bake them like 90%, 85% done. And then I turn off the oven and let them cool in the oven so that the temperature goes down. And I get a brownie that's like super moist and cakey. This wasn't cakey. This was almost the consistency of not really even fudge. It was even softer than fudge. And so it was kind of, I didn't like the texture. A little too mushy for me.
There you have it, folks. No one likes a mushy brownie.
Over the years, we've made a couple different recipes for chocolate mousses, chocolate puddings that are vegan, either tofu based or avocado based, and all of them have turned out pretty well. Very rich chocolate flavor.
There is absolutely no reason to make a dairy-based pudding that you have to cook on the stove for half an hour. You can literally make them in 5 minutes in your blender with 3 or 4 ingredients, and they're delicious and healthier. I think actually the avocado one is my favorite.
Of course, we're making all of these without my favorite secret ingredient that I add to most of my baking things, which is a little bit of almond extract. Almond extract that's my secret little punch.
Chef Wendy's used to be a secret.
Yeah.
Now it's not because it's on a podcast.
Open to the world.
Successful baking. A little bit of almond extract.
After getting off to a squishy start, we're moving on to a dessert that brings a bit of a citrus twist. But will it turn sour with the judges? Coming in at 6th place is the lemon bar.
And the lemon bars came in a little low. The lemon bars, I like really lemony lemon bars, and these could have used some more lemon as far as I was concerned. I did like the crust a lot, but, and I said similarity to non-vegan. I said it was a 2 because I think of lemon bars as a bit decadent, and these weren't decadent enough.
They were a little lighter.
They were a little lighter. Yeah.
What other dessert did you try that you liked?
I don't like lemon bars, but I really liked the lemony of the lemon bar. I'm not a lemon bar-y kind of person, but I almost wanted to scrape the lemon off and eat it separately. I didn't even care about the crust. It didn't matter to me. Once I tasted the lemon, it was just the right amount of sweet and tart for me. So
I think
I
that's
could have
the one
spread it
that
on
we're
bread or
getting the
something.
widest variety of comments. It's not lemony enough. It's perfect. We like the crust. I don't like the crust. The filling was yummy. The filling was not. So it's interesting that one is so all over the board.
Yeah, I think lemon
great.
bars that's the thing with lemon bars. I think I grew up where you'd go to a party and the lemon bars were always ones that were left. After everybody was gone, there was always lemon bars. And so it's one that either people really get into or not at all.
You're right.
Yeah.
The person who made it and brought it really likes them.
Really likes them.
Other
And they're going to be
people don't.
taking them home. Yeah.
The lemon bars, I did not like the texture of those. Somehow they were a lot different from a traditional lemon bar.
So you're talking about the filling part
The
of the lemon
filling
bar?
part. I like the crust more, but the filling, I don't know. Traditional lemon bars are maybe smoother, and this was more of like a jello consistency.
What did you think?
The lemon bars seem to have been the most polarizing thing today. I really liked them. I know somebody else had said that they were sort of gelatinous, and I think I am inclined to agree with that. with the caveat that I always love the gelatinous. I love the mucilaginous. I love all the textures that like the rest of my family seems to hesitate on a little bit more. But I mean, flavor wise, the lemon flavor was really strong. So I really enjoyed the lemon bars.
Moving from tangy to creamy, we have the cheesecakes. Usually a crowd pleaser, but they ranked number 5 with the judges. Let's find out why, starting with Chef Wendy.
I really did enjoy the crust, but the cheesecake part of it was just too strong of a coconut flavor because it had coconut oil, coconut cream, and coconut milk. So it was a lot of coconut. I think maybe if we revisited that, maybe change it a little bit, then that would be a lot better.
I wonder if there are some recipes out there with more of a cashew cream base. Because I know you can make a cream cheese. Like the vegan cream cheeses you get in the store are often cashew cream cheese. So I wonder if using those the way you would use cream cheese, like dairy cream cheese, versus this one.
Yeah, we'll have to explore more recipes and stuff on that one. But
something for a future episode.
Yeah, but the crust was a lot better than I expected it to be. I was very surprised with that.
I am not a huge chocolate fan, so.
Yeah, this would be a hard one for you because almost everything had chocolate. The lemon bars and the cheesecake were really the only two things that weren't just completely covered in chocolate or thoroughly made of chocolate. Well, what did you think of those then? What are the non-chocolate options?
I thought the cheesecake had a little bit too much coconut. I think I was reading that the recipe had cashews. I have done some vegan cooking, and I think maybe if the cashews were soaked overnight and then maybe trying vanilla instead of coconut could be a fun experiment.
Well, the cheesecake was one of the ones that I was most curious about, partly because I love cheesecake, but also because I have been on a quest to find a good vegan cream cheese and have been having some difficulty with that. So I thought I would be really curious to try and see kind of how that came out. And I had the lemon one in particular because I know there were a couple different varieties. And it had just the slightest grainy texture to me, kind of like a ricotta cheese. But that may be something that may vary just depending on what different ingredients are used, what type of cream cheese. And it wasn't overwhelmingly unpleasant like when I tried to make the mousse, but just the hint of that. But it was a very light texture. I did sense the coconut flavor came through, but I felt like it was a good complement to the lemon, at least in the one that I ate. I thought the crust was excellent. I added a bonus point for the crust because I thought that was so good and really balanced with the flavor and the texture of the cheesecake. So I even though it wasn't one of my top scoring items, I quite enjoyed it.
I'm not a big cheesecake fan as a rule. Like even before I was all plant-based, just not my favorite dessert. It's because of the high amount of the coconut milk in these, and the coconut. Was it coconut milk or coconut oil or both?
Both.
Yeah,
cream, coconut
cream. To me, these it just looks like frozen coconut milk. Even just like the way it looks coming out of the freezer here.
Yeah.
I suspect these are going to be my least favorite of our things that we made.
Just tasting the batter, is definitely the one with the strongest coconut flavor so far.
Yeah, I'm really glad I got this silicone cupcake pan because it just pops the things right out, and it's so cute.
Yeah, I love all of my silicone bakeware. I have a 9-inch cake pan that I make my regular cheesecakes in. And you don't have to mess with the springform pans leaking and
you were saying you really don't like springform pans for cheesecakes.
I hate them. So I would use a regular metal cake pan before I would use a springform pan. They're just a little more extra step in taking them out. But yeah, with my silicone cake pan, I just, line the bottom with the parchment. And then when it's cooled, you just invert it, plops right out. And then you take off the paper and then turn it right side up on your serving dish. It's so freaking easy. And you don't have to worry about it leaking in your water bath.
More expert baking tips from Chef Wendy.
Next up, something a little less decadent, but just as intriguing. The brownies were disappointing, but maybe healthy and tasty actually can coexist. The oatmeal raspberry cups definitely had some fans. May, thanks for coming today, and thanks for coming on the podcast again. I'm so happy to have you. What did you think? Did you have fun?
First of all, thank you so much for having me over for delicious desserts. I never give myself permission for desserts. I did today.
It's a special day.
Oh my goodness, yes. And all these variety, I'm like loving it. So thanks. There were things that I just absolutely loved. And then there were things that I sort of loved. And then there were things that were delicious. So
I thought you were going to say things that I hated, but
nope.
Not on the list.
Not at all. Nope. Everything got a fairly decent score. There were some things that I'd never had before. And so I couldn't really compare them to the non-vegetarian original because I never had anything like them. So that was pretty cool.
Give me an example.
Well, the oatmeal raspberry cup. It's like, yeah. First of all, I love chocolate. And to have a thick piece of chocolate on top of the cup that was like the slightest bit bitter just because it was such a high, a high
Cacao.
density of cacao. Mm-hmm. Whoa, that was working for me big time. And then I cut mine in half, and to see the filling ooze out, that made me happy. I just enjoyed it. Knowing that there was a surprise inside, it's like, yeah, I like surprises inside.
And I think raspberry and dark chocolate is one of my favorite flavor combinations.
Me too. It's so good.
The oatmeal raspberry cups, I loved the filling. The oatmeal portion was a little bit underwhelming. I think maybe if there was more of like a crunch there, I think that like a little more crunch, a little more sweetness, that might be more compelling. But the filling was so good that it was like, well, I still went and got another cup anyway. It was that good.
Oh, the oatmeal.
Oatmeal raspberry cup.
Not for me. And not for me on all three of them. The oatmeal wasn't granola-y enough, so kind of crunchy enough. So it was more chewy, kind of had to really work on it. And then I couldn't taste the flavor of the raspberry. As much as I like raspberry and chocolate, I couldn't taste the raspberry. I kept like trying to taste it. And because I couldn't taste the raspberry, it didn't make the chocolate make a difference, because I've tried chocolate and oatmeal cookies before, and it just isn't a good combination for some reason, although it should be. So that's kind of, it was three things that I don't think work well together. So that was it.
All right, we're working our way up the rankings. So far, we have the sweet potato brownies coming in dead last, followed by the lemon bars, the cheesecake, and the oatmeal raspberry cups. We've made it to the top 3 contenders. Which do you think will come out the champion? Will it be the cookies, the peanut butter pie, or what about the chocolate cake? The suspense is killing me. Coming in at number 3, we have the peanut butter pie.
What are you making over there?
I am making the filling for the peanut butter pie. Looks like it's going to be basically a giant Reese's peanut butter cup kind of thing.
Oh, well, what's not to like?
Yeah.
A giant vegan Reese's peanut butter cup kind of thing.
And the graham cracker crust, which is already done, has to bake a little bit, but that's the only part of it that needs baking.
Yum, yum, yum.
What did you think about the peanut butter pie?
I was just looking at that. It got below its rating.
Shock.
I know.
I don't know if the listeners can hear in the background, but everybody else here went,
aghast.
Well, is that because peanut butter is not your favorite, or
That's
why?
not it at all.
What was it about it that you didn't
peanut
like?
butter. The crust I didn't care for that much, and I'm not sure quite why. That had a kind of little coconut taste to it, and I think I didn't need the coconut taste in there. Let's see, richness. It was very rich. I gave it a 4, but it could have been a 5 in terms of richness. Similarity to the non-vegetarian vegan original, it was a 2. I've never had a pie like that before. I mean, and I've had what do we talk
Reese's
about?
peanut butter
Boston
cups.
pies and Reese's cups and stuff like that. But this was like very different. And as much as I said all that, I gave it a 4 for outstanding overall taste because the filling is so good. So I could have just done the filling. I didn't have to have the crust and the topping. Yeah.
The peanut butter pie, also super phenomenal. It was just velvety, smooth. I would have never guessed this was vegan at all. It was absolutely rich and indulgent.
My third favorite was the peanut butter pie. I really liked the combination of flavors, and the texture was good. The crust was wonderful. I could just eat the crust. Anytime you want me to taste desserts, I'm there.
I have a dedicated taster.
I guess I should give some props to the peanut butter pie. I also loved that. Like, I think if we're tallying up the points and stuff that we've awarded to the different foods, the peanut butter pie for me is tied for first place with the chocolate mousse and the lemon bars. If you gave that to me, I would not guess that there was any kind of vegan alchemy done to it. It was just as, rich as any other dessert I've met in the world.
Okay, blender coming on.
Chef, that's a mixer. It's not a blender. The mixy thing is turning on.
The fake KitchenAid.
Yeah, my cheap mixer that I've had literally, I think it was a wedding present in 1996, but it still works.
It gets the job done still.
And as I've already said, I don't like to bake, so,
Yes.
It doesn't get much use.
So I've probably used your mixer more than
You have probably used the mixer more than I have over the years. In fact, I'm sure of it.
We've come to the final round. It's a showdown between two of the most popular desserts in the world, vegan or not. Chocolate cake with chocolate icing and chocolate chip cookies. Which one will be the victor?
Now, the chocolate cake, okay, there's a term called slap your mama good. That's what it is. And the icing is so smooth. I don't even know how you got it that smooth. Is that like a special blender you got or something?
No, Chef Wendy will tell you that my mixer is like a cheap knockoff. I've had it for 30 years. I'm
Right.
surprised it even still runs. So Wendy was...
You know what? That's good news.
What was your favorite in terms of taste?
The chocolate cake. I thought the chocolate cake was, I wouldn't have known. If I had had it and not known that it was vegan, I would not have known. I was very surprised at that. And it came out, beautifully. Nice and moist and fluffy. And the icing, the icing, the only difference between that and regular buttercream was we used a vegan, which did have a lower melting point, slightly lower. So I made sure we put it in the fridge before everybody arrived because I wouldn't want to leave that out too long. I think the buttercream icing would melt off very easily. But other than that, it tasted the same.
The icing was incredible, and there was quite a bit left over that we didn't use. And
It was a big batch.
I was tempted to just eat it with a spoon. I would have made myself sick, but it was so good. I restrained myself because I knew we had this whole event and all the icing, all the desserts we were going to eat, but it was tempting.
My second favorite was a chocolate cake. The texture was wonderful, and the icing was so light and fluffy. I liked it. It's kind of like a chantilly cake. I don't like real heavy icing, so that was really good.
And particularly for the chocolate cake, I'm not a huge cake person. Cakes tend to be a little dry and boring, I guess. If I'm going to have a cake, it better have cream cheese frosting on it. This did not, but it was divine. It was My comment was fan-freaking-tastic. It was indulgent. I found it better than conventional non-vegan cakes that I've had. It was moist. It was fluffy. Just outstanding. Absolutely loved it.
All right, Glennis, you saved the chocolate cake for your last thing to try. So I want you to take a bite right now and then just give me your spontaneous reaction.
All right. Oh, goodness. Okay, talk about performance anxiety.
I know, right? I need video to see her face.
That is so good.
She might cry.
It is so good. Oh, my goodness. That is so good. It's not supposed to be that good.
Somebody just said they think you're having a religious experience over there.
Or something like it, yeah.
Some kind of experience.
Yeah,
This is a G-rated podcast.
That is really, really good.
All right, tell me who's the second runner-up.
Well, there was a tie for second place. So the second place was the chocolate cake and the peanut butter pie with 129 points.
I am shocked. The chocolate cake was tied for second. I thought it was going to be the winner.
Nope.
The chocolate chip cookies.
I love the cookies.
The chocolate chip cookies were wonderful.
The texture of the cookies was great.
I loved the cookies
Yeah,
a
the
lot.
cookies are
but
good.
all right, Nora Cooks, thank you for that amazing vegan chocolate chip cookie recipe. Will be made again in my household. Chocolate chip cookies for the win! Chewy, comforting, yummy chocolate chip cookies, just like you had as a kid. What do you think was your top pick?
So I like the chocolate chip cookies the best. And I do want to say I'm more of a cinnamon sugar girl. So I did think that they tasted the most similar to the non-vegan option as opposed to some of the others.
What is the one that you liked the best?
Well, I am a cookie girl from way back. I love cookies. I've been baking cookies my whole life. So I love the cookies. I was really surprised at how good they were. The texture of the cookies was great, I thought. I expected them to be kind of a weird texture, but it was spot on as far as cookies go. And I liked the chewiness. So
The chewiness, great.
yeah.
I love the cookies. They were good. And you're right, the texture was just right. They were chewy and crunchy at the same time, and that's hard to do. So if you had not told me that you'd replace something, I wouldn't have known.
That's good, though.
Well, it's delicious, and that's the best thing I could say.
Right,
is it's
delicious.
really delicious.
I felt like, yep, this is over the top. I'm getting my fill of too much sugar and too much of everything that's bad for me. That's all right. So I'm liking that a lot. So, now whether I can make any of these, that's a whole nother story.
If I can do it, you can do it. I am not a baker.
You always say that, but come on. I know better. You're good at it. But anyway, the chocolate chip cookies were wonderful. I gave them a high.
She's not a good baker.
No,
No. She
coming straight from the sister. That must be true.
She knows. I can cook. I don't bake. I just, yeah.
Okay.
It's the measuring. So even just trying to measure the stuff for the chocolate chip cookies,
Really?
I was like, no, that's close enough. So maybe the cookies would have been even better if I had actually measured.
Oh, they couldn't have been much better. They were good. And the fact that they're
Thank you.
thin.
I do agree. Like, I loved the cookies
Yeah,
a
the
lot,
cookies are
but
good.
maybe they would have been different. I don't know.
Well, if you could serve them hot every time you serve them, that would probably be the way they'd be better, but you can't really do that.
No.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, you
Yeah.
can. You know what? Wendy told me the secret.
What?
Make the dough, roll it into little balls, pop it in the freezer, freeze them, and then put them in a plastic bag. And then what you do is when you want to serve them, you just put a few at a time in the oven.
Oh.
And so every time you have fresh baked cookies.
Great idea.
Do you have any advice for people who might be clicking on the show notes on these recipes in terms of any tips or tricks that you learned working with some of these different products?
Well, I think the key to any baking is going to be your blending. Some things you have to make sure you blend them very smooth, like the cheesecake with the making sure the filling was blended smooth. You either want to blend it a lot or be very careful you don't overblend it. Because I think maybe that might have been with our cookies an issue with how flat and crispy they got. But that might have just been because of the leavening.
They're not bready at all. They're very thin and chewy. But I think I prefer them that way as well.
And they were amazing fresh out of the oven. I mean, they were really good now, but they were so much better fresh out of the oven.
And this is, the safe cookie dough. You could just eat it as cookie dough without fear of salmonella because it did not have any eggs in it.
Yes.
And yeah, I could have also just done that. Mm-hmm. That was the thing. At the beginning, I said there was one thing that we were at risk of not having any for the actual tasting, and it was the cookies because I probably could have just eaten the entire batch.
Yeah. If you're a raw cookie dough eater, that's one of your go-to snacks. That's the recipe for you. Because it did taste exactly like those ones that you just cut and bake. Yeah, tasted exactly the same.
So there you have it, folks. 7 delicious vegan dessert recipes for you to try. Even the last place brownies got marks for their rich, chocolatey flavor. The texture just needed some work. The top 2 winners were both from the Nora Cooks blog. I've made a few of her other things, and they're all outstanding. Over Thanksgiving, Wendy and I made the peanut butter pie and the chocolate chip cookies again. I managed to measure the baking soda right this time, and they were just as phenomenal as I remembered. I did the trick of making them in advance and freezing the cookie dough in the little balls. They baked up beautifully after about 14 minutes at 350 degrees. The family gobbled them up. Links for all of the recipes are in the show notes on the Eat Your Greens website. That's www.eatgreenswithdrblack.com. And hey, while you're there, go ahead and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. If you try any of these fabulous dessert recipes, please let me know. And as always, thanks for listening, and don't forget to eat your greens.
Your assistance is not required, Salto.
Yes, it is.
At no point in this process do we need a dog.
I don't know. It reminded me of a recipe that had been told to me by a friend online. They had told me about, what was it, like pureeing chickpeas with date syrup and cocoa powder to make an imitation of like the world's favorite chocolate hazelnut spread. I don't know how averse we are to brand names on here.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, even that is already plant-based, but they're like, oh, this one has better macros if you're trying to get jacked. It's like, I'm not, but I could.
What did you think about the crust? There's been a lot of debate about the quality and the flavor of the various crusts.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 on the crust and wrote phenomenal. So I think I liked it.
I love sugar, and sugar loves me.
The oatmeal raspberry cups came in 5th. The cheesecake came in 6th. The lemon bars were 7th, and the big loser was the brownies.
The brownies. Yeah, I was getting that idea. Yeah. All right. Well, and they probably were the healthiest of the items. So there you have it. All right, we have it. Hooray, thank you.